Hello and welcome. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to install Ubuntu Server 2004. This installation of Ubuntu Server is a headless server installation, meaning that there's no graphical user interface. After the installation, you will just be greeted with the shell to enter any commands that you wish to enter. After the installation, I will actually connect to the server from a remote location via SSH, and then I'll run some updates just to show you how to do the updates after the installation. During the recording of this video, I will actually pause the installation, or I'll pause the video during the installation so that it sort of shorten the videos. Ubuntu installation normally takes about half an hour to about 40 minutes depending on the modules that you choose to install. I will be basically doing a simple straightforward install and just ensuring that the SSH is configured and is installed at the time of the installation. So I'm running this in Oracle Box. I have a virtual machine that's created, and Ubuntu only comes in the 64 bit. I'm using just about 2 gigs of RAM. That should be enough for the installation. You can give it some more memory if you intend to run other applications and modules with the with Ubuntu. I'm using a hard drive which is just about 15 just about 10 gigs, which is quite enough for just a lab installation. So I have the ISO file. I've downloaded the ISO file and already connected it to the Ubuntu server. I'm going to go ahead and start the installation here. So that's booting off of the file. I'm just going to ignore that error message there. Okay, so this is I'm just going to go through all of the different options here. So English is fine. That's, I'm just going to leave that as the default. And keyword configuration, I will just leave it as English US. That's fine. And my Ethernet adapter, I can choose. I can set an IP address here, or I can actually leave it as the DHCP connection, and that is fine. I'm just gonna I can change the address at a later time, so I'll accept the default IP address it's giving me. Proxy address, I don't have any. Click next and accept that as the default as well. The mirror address, click on OK, and storage layout. So this is the disk that I'll be installing it on. I only have one virtual disk connected right now, so that's the only one that's available. Click next, and this is just giving you an overview that it will be using a root partition of 9 gigs and a boot partition of about 900 and some odd megs. Click on X and or done. So you want to continue. It's just tells you that it'll destroy the disk and wipe any data on it. You want to say yes, continue with that, and here's where you can put your name. So I'll just put admin. Server name, I'm just gonna call it U20 uh, service name Ubuntu SRVR and pick a username. I'll go with sysadmin and choose a password. Click on done, and I'll just leave that as blank. Click on next, and here is where you will select to install the Open SSH server. And what this will do is basically allow SSH connection into the server, and this you actually want to enable this option because you will use SSH, or I'll use SSH to connect to this server, and I always will advise to enable this option. Of course, you can skip this and enable or install the SSH server at a later time after the installation. So just hitting the space bar will put an X in there, and it will just add the SSH. So I'm just going to use a tab to get down to the done option and enter. And here's where it'll ask you if you want to install any additional server modules. So for now, I'm just going to leave this as empty. So I have a whole lot of them here. But in another video, I'll come back to this portion of it, or I will show you just how you can install additional applications if you want to do that at a later time. So I'm not going to install any of it now. Click on the tab to get down to done. That's highlighted. Click on enter, and it's gonna go ahead and start installing it. So as I mentioned, I will pause this video during the installation just to keep this video short, so I can after the installation I'll be able to connect to this server and start running updates and things like that. Okay, so now the installation has completed. Tells me at the top there, and I'm gonna go ahead and reboot the computer or the virtual machine, and it's gonna go into reboot, and that pretty much concludes the installation of Ubuntu server. So the next phase is after the system reboots, I'm gonna go ahead and log in, and then I'm gonna access this server that I just created via SSH. Okay, so now my server has rebooted. I'm gonna go ahead and log in with the account that I created during the installation, and that was sysadmin. Now I'm logging in directly to the terminal on this machine. I just want to log in first and see what IP address has been assigned to it, and then I'll use that IP address to connect from a remote connection using that IP address via SSH. Okay, so that's my server there, and it tells me that the IP address that has been assigned is 192.168.254.53. Okay, to see what the IP address is, you can just type the command host name and dash uppercase I, and you'll be able to see the IP address. So that's the IP address there. So I'm gonna head over to a remote connection on another computer, and I will connect to the server with that IP address using SSH. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect through SSH. So the command is SSH, or maybe sudo SSH and the username system sysadmin at the IP address. So 192.168.254.53. Enter the password for my elevated privileges. So I'll get this message here regarding the key fingerprint. So now I just have to type yes to get connected. Now it asks me for the password for that server, for the sysadmin password to connect to the server. And let's put our password in for the server now. And it should connect me. So this here establishes the SSH connection into the server. Now I'm just doing this directly from a terminal on another Linux system. This can also be done via the PuTTY client, which is a very popular client that's used to connect to SSH devices or clients. So the first thing that you want to do after installing the Ubuntu server is to run any updates. So you'll want to do the command sudo apt update. So sudo apt. Some systems, like older system, they'll use the apt-get command, but this will just accept the apt command. So what this will do is it will actually check the system and the update repository to see if there are any updates available. Okay, now this can take quite some time to do. So I have 13 packages that can be upgraded, and in order to upgrade the packages, so this command will just check for the update. If I want to do the update, it'll be sudo apt upgrade and hit enter, and it's going to start upgrading the packages. It'll give you a brief summary of what will be done, like the packages that will be installed. In order to proceed with the installation of the updates, you just type Y and hit enter, and it's going to start to download all of the updates that are available and then install it. And whether it tells you to reboot the computer or not, it's always a good idea that when you're doing major updates to reboot the system. Now of course, if this is a production server, you will not want to do this in the middle of the day, but our environment is just a test lab environment. So after the update, I'm going to go ahead and do the updates. So at this time, I'm going to pause the video again, just because I want to sort of keep the video short. These updates may take about 15-20 minutes to get done, and then I'll restart the server after. Okay, so the updates have been completed. Now I'm going to go ahead and restart the server. So I'll just issue the command sudo shutdown. And I'm gonna choose the option -R to reboot, and I'm just gonna say now. I can specify a time, probably like 60 seconds or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever the case is, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just reboot it now. If I use the command H, it will actually shut the computer down, and this will happen whether it's a physical computer or a virtual computer, doesn't matter. But I don't want to shut it down, I just want to reboot it. So now I can actually see that my server is rebooting here, and it will go through the rebooting process. Okay, so the server has been fully rebooted. So let's just go back to the SSH connection we had on the remote computer and reissue the same command. So we're gonna go SSH and specify the user account that we're going to use to access the remote server. So that was sysadmin at the IP address 192.168.254.53, I think. 254.2 No, it was 5.3, like that. Okay. Notice now that you were not asked to it bypassed that error in regards to the fingerprint or the connection error we had before. So we're gonna go ahead and enter the password for remote system, which is let's see. Okay, and now after the update, so we're now connected back into the system, and let's run that command to go again, sudo apt update. And it's gonna check again to see if there are any updates on the system, and you can see here that all packages are up to date, so no other packages need to be updated. The system is fully up to date. So that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. If you want to make any comment, if you think there's anything that I left out, you can send me a comment. And thanks for watching. And check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. I have many videos regarding Linux and Microsoft Windows operating system and Cisco devices as well.